Hello everyone, my name is Deepthi from Maxxcell, an IELTS trainer who has trained many students to get their desired score in order to get into university abroad or to work in a foreign country. आज के वीडियो में हम देखेंगे how to tackle IELTS writing task 1 and step-by-step approach. Okay, we have done many videos in relation to a series of videos in relation to different sections pertaining to IELTS exam. If you wish to listen to them, then please plan to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now coming back to this video, इस वीडियो में हम जैसे हमने कहा है कि हम क्या देखने वाले हैं, हम ये देखने वाले हैं कि हम IELTS राइटिंग सेक्शन में जो कि टास्क 1 होता है उसको हम कैसे हैंडल करेंगे वो हम स्टेप बाय स्टेप आज देखेंगे। तो शुरू करते हैं। नाउ व्हेन इट कम्स टू टाइप्स ऑफ टास्क 1 क्वेश्चंस, ओके, नाउ what happens is that when it comes to writing task 1, you are required to summarize, to compare, and to describe mutual data in minimum 150 words. And it has to be in 150 words. So word count जो होता है वो 150 होना चाहिए और उसको हम 20 मिनट में हमें कवर करना है. So it has to be in 150 words and it has to be covered, or you have to complete the task in 20 minutes. Okay, so this is something which is required when it comes to task 1 of the IELTS exam in the writing section. It is important to note that personal opinions are not necessary. Your focus should be on presenting the essential details in the coherent manner. So आपकी जो भी ओपिनियन है वो उतनी मैटर नहीं करती है इस टास्क में, हमें सिर्फ इंफॉर्मेशन पे ही फोकस करना है. Okay, so let us see what are the type of questions. Now, type of questions, it can be in relation to graphs and chart. Now, when it comes to a graphs and chart, it can be a bar graph, okay, or it can be a line graph, जो कि आता है टास्क 1 में. जो भी राइटिंग सेक्शन है उसमें जो टास्क 1 है उसमें जो भी क्वेश्चन आते हैं वो ज़्यादातर बार ग्राफ और लाइन ग्राफ के बारे में ही होते हैं. ऑल्सो अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस, इसके अलावा ये पाई चार्ट भी हो सकता है और ये टेबल फॉर्म में भी आ सकता है. ओके, सो दैट इज़ द फर्स्ट वन. सो ये टास्क 1 क्वेश्चंस है. उसके बाद let us go on further. So that can be in relation to trends and comparisons as well. So in relation to the bar graph and line graph or pie chart or table, what happens is that what is important is how you make the, what are the trends which are showed in the following bar graph or line or pie chart, and how you will compare the same. So this is something which you need to know. आपको कंपेयर करना है और ट्रेंड्स के बारे में भी देखना है जो भी आपको दिखाया जाएगा टास्क 1 क्वेश्चन में. Okay, the next one, it can be in relation to map. So there can be a map which is appearing in the task 1, and you need to say what are the situation, or what is the situation before and what are the after changes. So there will be 2 मैप. सो 2 मैप दिखाए जाते हैं, एक जो पहले वाला है उसके बाद वाला. सो बिफोर वन यू नीड टू सी हाउ इट इज, how it appears, and then you need to see what is the after change which has happened. Apart from that, what you can expect in task 1 are processes and diagrams. So apart from maps, you can also expect processes and diagrams which can come. Okay, now what are these processes? It can be in form of a life cycle. Okay, so life cycle of an animal हो सकता है, कोई भी insect हो सकता है, and it can be a manufacturing process. So the another one which can appear is a manufacturing process. Okay, so manufacturing process of milk or cheese, so it can be in relation to that, or the cement. So इसके examples हैं cement or milk. Okay, which is the cheese manufacturing process out of milk. So ये भी आ सकता है. ओके, सो हमें ये ध्यान में रखना है जब भी हम टास्क 1 अटेम्प्ट करें, ये ऑलवेज रिमेंबर दैट इट कैन बी इन रिलेशन टू ग्राफ्स एंड चार्ट्स, इट कैन बी इन रिलेशन टू ट्रेंड्स एंड comparisons, maps and processes and diagrams. So once you know that these are the expected questions in relation to task 1, then tackling them becomes quite an easy task. Okay, so चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं. Now we will see what are the important steps you need to follow when it comes to the handling of this writing task 1. Okay, so some of the important steps we will see. Now, when it comes to writing task 1, you need to know that what you need to do is you need to summarize. Okay, so that is something you need to do. Then you need to compare. Okay, so you need to summarize, you need to compare, and you need to describe the mutual information. So you need to describe the mutual information. So जो भी information आपको दी जाती है आपको वो describe करनी है, and at the same time first you have to summarize it and you have to comparison you have to do. So this is something which you need to follow. Now let us see it in detail. हम कैसे उसको handle करेंगे. So step 1 क्या है कि you need to understand the task requirements. So first of all, once you know what are the requirements of this particular task, then it becomes easy to write about the step. Okay, so what you must do, let us see what you must do and let us see what you must not. So what you must do is you need to first of all summarize, जैसे कि हमने अभी बताया. Okay, so you need to summarize the key trends. Okay, and you need to do you need to do the comparison. So this is something which you need to do when it comes to your task 1. Then the next one is you first is summarize. Second one, you need to know that it has to be in 150 words. So you need to, इसके नीचे नहीं लिखना है, इसके ऊपर हम लिख सकते हैं, बट आपको ये ध्यान में रखना है कि उसके लिए सिर्फ 20 मिनट दिए जाएंगे आपको. सो जो भी राइटिंग सेक्शन में 1 घंटा होता है उससे आप 20 मिनट सिर्फ टास्क 1 को हैंडल करेंगे. सो इसीलिए आपको एटलीस्ट 150 वर्ड्स में लिखना ही है. ओके, सो आपको वो स्ट्रक्चर अच्छी तरह से आ जाए. सो देन जब हम आगे बढ़ेंगे तो you need to use the formal language. Okay, so when it is formal academic language. So this is something which you need to understand. So when you speak about formal or academic language, you cannot use any slang or you cannot use any shortcut. So you need to use a formal language which you will use in the official purpose. So that is something which you need to remember. So these are something which you have to do. Now let us see what you are not supposed to do. So हमने देख लिया है कि हमको क्या करना है, हमें ये भी देखना है कि हमको क्या नहीं करना है जब ये टास्क 1 राइटिंग सेक्शन में आता है. So something which you need not do is include your, so first you are not supposed to include your personal opinion. So personal opinion you are not supposed to give when it comes to task 1. The next thing is copy words directly from the question. So you shouldn't copy any words directly from the question. So question से कुछ भी copy नहीं करना है, उसके लिए आपको marks नहीं दिए जाएंगे. Okay, so you need to paraphrase. So you can paraphrase, you can write similar meaning words या synonyms भी आप use कर सकते हैं. So describe every single detail. Now describe every single detail. Okay, so this is also something which you're not supposed to do because there is a lot of information. In that case, you will be exceeding 250 words. अगर आप बहुत ही डिटेल में लिखने जाएंगे, so आपको सिर्फ इम्पॉर्टेंट इंफॉर्मेशन ही लिखना है, समराइज करना है, कंपेयर करना है, ट्रेंड्स के बारे में, जो भी ट्रेंडिंग है उसके बारे में आपको लिखना है. एंड यू नीड टू यूज फॉर्मल लैंग्वेज, एकेडमिक लैंग्वेज. Okay, and you need to cover that 150 words. So this is something which you need to do when it comes to the first one. So understand the task requirements. अगर ये आपको ध्यान में आ गया, then automatically आप first step achieve कर रहे हैं. So next step देखते हैं क्या है. Now in the next second step, step 2, you need to analyze the question and plan. सो इसके लिए आप एक ऑलमोस्ट व्हाट यू कैन डू इज आपको 3 मिनट इसमें इस्तेमाल करने हैं. So you need to utilize 3 minutes for this. So you need to nicely analyze the question, what type of question it is. Is it a problem solution type of question, or is it a discussion type of question, advantages, disadvantages? So analyze the question properly, and then after that what you need to do is you need to plan your writing. Okay, so the first step is analyze the vision carefully. Okay, so something you need to do. Now here what you have to tell is that identify the main trends. So first what you need to do is identify the main trends. Okay, so this is something which you need to do. Then compare. So after that what you need to do is compare the highest and lowest points. So compare the highest and the lowest. So this is something which will be very common when it comes to a bar graph, line graph, pie chart. So this is quite common, and group similar trends for easy. So now what happens that you can group some similar trends. Okay, so group some similar trends together so that it becomes easy for you to write. Okay, so that it will help you in the flow of writing. Okay, so this is something which you need to do when you're analyzing. So plan it out that way. For example, so let us see one example. So in this, if you see a line graph showing population growth from 1990 to 2020, focus on the biggest increase and decrease. So for example, what you need to do when you're highlighting certain points is that you need to highlight firstly the biggest increase, okay, or the decrease. So this is something which you need to highlight. The second one is any sharp, what is that, rises and plateaus, okay, or the fluctuations. So this is something which you need to pay attention to. So what आपको क्या ध्यान में रखना है, कोई भी उतार चढ़ाव जो भी हो रहा है, so any increase or any decrease which is there, you need to pay attention to that. At the same time, you also have to pay attention to any sharp rises, plateaus, which is the constant, and then you have to see any fluctuations which is happening, and starting and end figures. So another thing what you need to also pay attention to is the what is the starting and the end figures. Okay, so that you can also highlight that. So what happens is that this is very common when it comes to any type of charts or bar graphs, line graphs. Okay, so here you need to focus on these details. Okay, so this is in relation to your second, this is in relation to your second step, that is how to analyze the question and plan the question. So you can dedicate 3 minutes. So इसके लिए आप 3 मिनट रख सकते हैं. So स्टार्टिंग में जब आप स्टार्ट करें, जब आप शुरुआत करें, तो आप इसको ज़रूर ध्यान में रखें कि आपको क्वेश्चन को एनालाइज करना है और उसके बाद उसको प्लान आउट करना है कि आप कैसे उसको टैकल करने वाले हैं. सो इसके लिए आपको कंपेयर, आपको समराइज करना है, मेन ट्रेंड्स के बारे में आपको जानना है, और आपको ये भी जानना है कि बिगेस्ट इंक्रीज क्या है, उतार चढ़ाव, वो भी आपको ध्यान में रखना है, और जो भी शुरुआत और एंड जो भी फिगर्स हैं वो भी आपको ध्यान में रखने हैं और उसको हाईलाइट करना है. ओके, सो ये है आपका सेकंड स्टेप. ना थर्ड स्टेप के पास चलते हैं, वहाँ पे हम क्या देखने वाले हैं. सो इन द थर्ड स्टेप, स्टेप 3, यू नीड टू रियलाइज दैट यू नीड टू राइट अ स्ट्रॉन्ग इंट्रोडक्शन. सो आपने अपने डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चंस आपने जान लिया. सो आपने ये भी जान लिया कि आपको टास्क का रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है, और अब आप आगे चल के आपको ये जानना है कि एनालाइज कैसे करें, क्वेश्चन को प्लान कैसे करें, और उसके बाद जो नेक्स्ट स्टेप आता है वो है आप एक स्ट्रॉन्ग इंट्रोडक्शन कैसे लिख सकते हैं और क्यों ज़रूरी है, ताकि जो भी आपकी शुरुआत हो राइटिंग की, आपको इट इज़ वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग एंड इट इज़ इम्प्रेसिंग द एग्जामिनर, so that you score high in the writing section. Okay, so let us see now. Introduction should paraphrase the question. So the main thing about introduction is आपको ये paraphrase करना है. So what is paraphrasing? So paraphrasing is nothing but you need to rephrase करना है question को and describe what the chart, map or process represents. So paraphrase the question. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to paraphrase the question. Okay, and at the same time, what are you also trying to do is that you need to describe. Okay, so paraphrase and describe. So this is something which you need to do in your introduction. Okay, so what the chart or the map or the process is trying to tell you. Okay, so that what it is representing. So let us see few examples. Okay, so let us see what is an example of a good introduction and let us see what is the example of a bad introduction. Okay, so if you have introduction, say for example, the chart below shows the percentage of people using different social media platforms in 2020. Okay, and let us see what is what is an example. Now this is an example question which I have just read. So example question क्या हो सकता है कि chart below shows. So अगर ये question है, ये सवाल है कि chart below shows the percentage of people using different social media platforms in 2020. Okay, so this is a example question. Okay, so how will you introduce that particular, give your introduction. So bad introduction will be the chart below shows the percentage of people using different social media platforms in 2020. So what are you trying to do here? आप यहाँ पे क्या कर रहे हैं? सिर्फ कॉपी कर रहे हैं क्वेश्चन को. You are not utilizing any paraphrasing here. So when it becomes a good introduction, so this is a copy. So which you are not supposed to do. So you are not supposed to copy. What is a good introduction? The bar chart illustrates the proportion of individuals who accessed various social media platforms in the year 2020. So do you see here the chart shows? So here you are saying the bar chart, and instead of saying shows, you are saying illustrates. Okay, so this is something which you have used, and the proportion you have alternated it with percentage. So percentage को भी आपने word को बदल दिया है, उसको हमने proportion ले लिया है यहाँ पे. So in good introduction of individuals who access various using different social media platforms, you have said who access various you have said various. Okay, social media platforms. Okay, fine, that remains the same. In the year 2020. So in 2020, here you have alternated it with year 2020. So automatically this becomes a good introduction. So it is, what has happened here is you are paraphrased. Okay, so you have paraphrased the introduction. So this is something which you need to go with. So this is something which you need to highlight here and take a good introduction. So this इस तरीके से आपको introduction लिखना है ताकि आपको अच्छी marks मिले, आपका score बढ़े. Okay, now let us go on to the next one, which is step 4. So इसके बाद हम क्या कर सकते हैं? Step 4 है write an overview. Okay, now overview बहुत ही important है, the most important step. So it is the most important, important step. So this is the most important step when it comes to the overview. Okay, so for that also you can and always take some 3 minutes or something so that you can utilize some time you can score well. Now the overview is the most important part. It summarizes the key trends without numbers. So what happens is that it's an important part. So what you need to highlight here is the key trends. Okay, so you need to highlight the key trends and you need to, at the same time, you need to give a summary of the same. Okay, so this is something which you need to do when it comes to the overview. And for example, in relation to the graphs and charts, okay, here what happens is that identify the general trends. So what you need to identify here is identify the general trends. Okay, so this is something which you need to do. And what are the general trends? So it is either increase about something. So it is, otherwise it can be a decrease in something. Okay, highest, lowest, similarities, differences. So this is something which happens when it comes to the overview. Okay, and you need to avoid details or figures in this part. So what you need to avoid is you need to avoid details and figures. So आपको कुछ figures या डिटेल में नहीं लिखना है, सिर्फ एक gist में लिखना है. ओके आपका ओवरव्यू एक जस्ट एक समरी होना चाहिए. जो भी आपका ये बार ग्राफ, लाइन ग्राफ और जो भी आपका ये मैथ बता रहा है आपको, उसका एक जस्ट. ओके सो लेट अस सी एन एग्जांपल. सो आपको पता चल जाएगा कि हम कैसे उसको इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं. ओके सो ओवरऑल यू स्टार्टेड विथ ओवरऑल. ओके सो इंट्रोडक्शन के बाद ओवरऑल आता है. सो इंट्रोडक्शन के बाद वाला जो स्टेप है वो है ओवरऑल. फेसबुक had the highest number of users while LinkedIn was the least popular platform. Additionally, most platforms experienced a steady rise in usage throughout the year. So this is something which you need to focus on. So यहाँ पे अगर हम देख सकते हैं कि हमने कोई भी फिगर्स यूज नहीं किए हैं और डिटेल में भी कुछ नहीं बताया है. इट इज़ जस्ट कि जनरल ट्रेंड जो भी चल रहा है उसके बारे में बात हो रही है और इंक्रीज या डिक्रीज उसके बारे में भी हम बात कर रहे हैं. सो हाईएस्ट लोएस्ट और सिमिलैरिटीज या डिफरेंसेस क्या है. ओके सो उसके बारे में हम बात कर रहे हैं. ओके सो दिस इज समथिंग विच यू नीड टू डू व्हेन इट कम्स टू योर ओवरऑल. ओके नाउ व्हेन इट कम्स टू मैप्स व्हाट हम देखते हैं, हम देख सकते हैं कि हम क्या कर रहे हैं. ओके सो मैप्स, व्हेन इट कम्स टू मैप्स मेंशन मेजर चेंजेस. ओके सो you what you need to do is you need to mention major changes. ओके सो मेजर चेंजेस क्या हुए हैं उसको हमने हाईलाइट करना है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर पहले बिल्डिंग्स नहीं थे और अभी बिल्डिंग्स ज़्यादा हो गए हैं तो उसके बारे में हम हाईलाइट कर सकते हैं. सो बिल्डिंग्स, ओके देन न्यू रोड्स, ओके और green spaces. Okay, so that is what you need to highlight, or green spaces remove. Okay, so this is one thing which you need to highlight when it comes to your maps. When it comes to processes or when it comes to diagrams, so जब भी हम processes या diagrams के बारे में आपको question आपके सामने आ रहा है तो then in that case you need to summarize the main stages of the process. So यहाँ पे what you will have to do is you need to summarize the main stages. Okay, so यहाँ पे ये आपको ध्यान में रखना है कि यहाँ पे तो कुछ उतार चढ़ाव नहीं होने वाला है. सो यहाँ पे मेन स्टेजेस आपको ध्यान में रखना है. सो व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट स्टेजेस ऑफ द प्रोसेसेस एंड यू नीड टू हाईलाइट देम. ओके सो दिस इज व्हाट यू नीड टू डू व्हेन इट कम्स टू ओवरव्यू. सो ओवरव्यू में क्या ध्यान में रखना है आपको. सो यू नीड टू हाईलाइट दी की ट्रेंड्स एंड यू नीड टू समराइज. सो दिस इज समथिंग विच यू नीड टू रिमेंबर. नाउ हम आगे बढ़ते हैं और नेक्स्ट स्टेप के पास चलते हैं. सो स्टेप 5. सो स्टेप 5 जो है वो आपको राइट बॉडी पैराग्राफ्स के बारे में है. सो इसमें आपको क्या करना है चलिए देखते हैं. सो यहाँ पे आपको क्या करना है, आपको स्ट्रक्चर के बारे में सोचना है. सो व्हाट यू नीड टू कॉन्सेंट्रेट हियर ऑन is the each paragraph. So each paragraph should be specific details with, so it should describe specific details. So it has to have the specific details. Okay, so each paragraph, so whatever paragraphs are there, it has to have the specific details, and at the same time it should be giving comparisons as well. Okay, so this is something which you need to understand. Now, how to structure body paragraphs. So paragraph 1, in this you can describe the first main trend. Okay, so how do you go about it? हम कैसे उसको आगे बढ़ सकते हैं. Describe the first main trend. So first main trend you can start with describing in the body paragraph 1. Okay, so this is what you can start with. And in paragraph 2 you can then describe the second trend and you have to compare as well. So describe the second trend and then you need to do the comparison. Okay, so this is something which you need to do. So body paragraph 1, you need to do, describe the first main trend, and body paragraph 2, you have to describe the second trend and you need to do the comparison as well. Okay, so this is something which you need to understand about the structure. So example, in the line graph on car sales in 3 countries, so आपको एक example के तौर पे हम यहाँ पे explain किया गया है कि paragraph 1 rising trend in car sales in country A and B. Okay, so rising trend in car sales. So this is a question in wherein they have shown a rising trend in car sales. So in 2010, car sales in country A stood at 500,000, but this figure doubled by 2020. Similarly, country B experienced a steady increase, reaching 1 million by the end of the period. So you are just starting and describing one trend, okay? And then after that, in body paragraph 2, what you are trying to tell is it's declining trend in country C plus comparison. So in contrast, this is how you start your paragraph, okay? And country C saw a decline in car sales, dropping from 800,000 in 2010 to 300,000 in 2020. While country A and B followed an upward trend, okay, country C experienced a significant decrease. So if you see the first paragraph and the second paragraph, you have seen that in first paragraph, you are just describing one trend. Okay, so यहाँ पे सिर्फ एक ट्रेंड को हमने डिस्क्राइब किया है. ओके, सो व्हेन इट कम्स टू दिस पर्टिकुलर पार्ट एंड व्हेन इट कम्स टू बॉडी पैराग्राफ 2, you are also declining. So one more trend, you are describing trend, and plus you are making, that is the first trend here, and here you are taking care of the second one, plus you are doing a comparison. So this is something which you are doing in body paragraph 1 and 2. You are tackling the writing body paragraph. So here you can assign 10 minutes time. Okay, so this you can do in this particular time. Fine. So this is about the step 5. So then let us go on to the next step, which is step 6. So in step 6, you use the right vocabulary and grammar. Okay, so you need to say that you use a mixture of comparative phrases and you use trending words, okay, which will help you to describe the trends, and you need to use passive voice if it is in relation to the processes. So what you are supposed to do, you are supposed to use comparative phrases. Okay, so this is something which you need to use, and words which are used, okay, when it comes to the words, you need to see to it that if they are in relation to the trends, and when it comes to processes, you need to use the passive voice. Okay, so this is something which you need to highlight. So trend vocabulary for graphs, and let us see what is the trend vocabulary for graphs. Okay, so for example, if you are supposed to highlight something increase, then what words you will use? You will use words like rise, you will use words like climb, you will use words like grow. Okay, so these are certain, ये हम इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं, certain words. Then in relation to decrease, you can always start using decline. Okay, then you can say drop, or you can use fall. Okay, so this is something which you can use. So increase is rise, climb, grow. Decrease is decline, drop, fall. Stability, it can be remain steady. Okay, so this is something which you can use, and you can say level off. Okay, so this is something which you can use, and fluctuations, you can always use words like vary. Okay, vary, then you can use be inconsistent. Okay, so something which is similar, so which it highlights these different trend vocabulary. ओके, सो दिस इज व्हाट हम आप लोग ये इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं जब भी आप ट्रेंड डिस्क्राइब कर रहे हो. ओके, और कंपैरेटिव वर्ड्स, सो कंपैरेटिव वर्ड्स जब भी आप कंपेयर कर रहे हैं सेकंड पैराग्राफ में, तो आप लोग ये इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल हायर, ग्रेटर, ओके, और लेस देन, तो इन दैट केस यू कैन ऑलवेज से लोअर, you can use fewer. Okay, and also you can similarities को describe करने के लिए आप लोग ये vocabulary use कर सकते हैं, equal, similar, pattern. Okay, or it remains identical. So this is something which can be used when it comes to the use of vocabulary. Okay, and when it comes to diagram, Okay, so another thing what you need to understand is that when it comes to diagrams or processes, please use, so when it comes to processes, okay, you need to use a passive voice. So it is something in the past you're talking about. So you need to start using passive voice. Okay, you're not supposed to use acting voice, you are supposed to use passive voice. Now let us go on to the next step, which is seventh one, and that is in relation to review and verify. So once you have completed the structure and you have used the vocabulary, you followed all the steps. The last step, what you will be using is to verify and to review whatever you have written. So what you need to review and verify, so before submitting, so quickly check for, so you certain things you need to check for. First is grammar and spelling mistakes. So it is very common. ये बहुत ही common है जब भी writing test हम attempt करते हैं, तो इसके लिए हमें चेक करना ही चाहिए और ज़रूर करें. ओके, उसके बाद वर्ड काउंट. सो वर्ड काउंट आपको पता है कि ये 150 से ऊपर होना चाहिए, 150 या 150 से ऊपर होना ही चाहिए. ओके, एंड देन द नेक्स्ट इज फॉर्मल वोकैबुलरी. सो नो कॉन्ट्रैक्शंस लाइक डोंट और कांट. सो ये कांट, डोंट, so this are not supposed to be used. So this is something which you need to keep in mind. So ये ध्यान में रखें कि आपको ग्रामर चेक करना है. ओके, सो ग्रामर चेक करना है ताकि कोई ग्रामेटिकल मिस्टेक्स ना हो और पूरी एक्यूरेसी के साथ आप लोगों ने टास्क 1 अटेम्प्ट किया है. स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक्स के लिए भी आप वर्ड बाय वर्ड ज़रूर चेक करें. Okay, so this is something which you need to keep in mind. Word count is there in the instructions, so उसको हमें ध्यान में रखना ही है. और formal vocabulary को use करना है. कोई informal vocabulary हम नहीं use कर सकते हैं क्योंकि ये formal exam है. Okay, so this is something which you need to pay attention to. So final recommendations. So हम just take away tips which I can tell you when you are attempting writing task 1 is practice different question types. So this will definitely help you. अगर आप practice करेंगे बहुत variety of questions के साथ तो आपको बहुत ही आसानी होगी task 1 attempt करने के लिए. Okay, second is always include an overview. So this is important. ओके, सो ये मैं हाईलाइट कर रही हूँ. सो ये इम्पॉर्टेंट है. आप वीडियो फिर से आप ज़रूर देखें कि ओवरव्यू कैसे लिखते हैं. सो आपको बहुत ही अच्छा होगा आपको हाई स्कोर करने के लिए. सो यू विल स्कोर डेफिनेटली हाई if you are writing an overview, and then definitely after that is your use a variety of vocabulary. So this is something which is required, no repetition. So repetition नहीं होना चाहिए words का. So you make seeing that you are using variety of vocabulary and you write clearly and logically. So जो भी आप पैराग्राफ्स आप लिख रहे हैं उसका कनेक्शन होना चाहिए एक दूसरे के साथ. So logical connection has to be there. And then time yourself. So time is important. So this task you need to assign 20 minutes in total. Okay, so this is something which you need to do. So I hope you found this video helpful. Okay, how to take care of writing task 1 and हमने step by step approach बताई है. Okay, so in order to receive more updates in relation to same, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. So until our next video, see you then. Goodbye.